What's going on, everyone? Jake Blaine here at Apocalypse Movies, and welcome back to the Padawan Podcast, our official Star Wars show where we talk about everything from the galaxy far, far away, including film, TV, books, comics, theories, non-theories, and everything else in the world of Star Wars. I am Qui-Gon Jake, your host. I am joined today by Jacob Bartley, the Grand Moff Bartley himself, as well as Brian Alessino, the silent assassin who is yet to be named. At this point, it's been nearly a year, and we have yet to figure out.
Has nothing to do with Star Wars.
We have not figured out a name for you, which is just mind-boggling. So we'll figure out something eventually. But so we're here back for the Padawan. We're going to be talking about a few things today. We're going to be covering a little bit of Star Wars Resistance to start off the show. Since the last time we were on the show, the episode 3 and 4 has aired. For us who have not seen them. It was the pirate episode, and then last night was Fuel the Fire. And so Jacob has only seen the 4th episode. We have seen episode 3, so we'll kind of be covering that and a little bit of episode 4. And then we're going to be getting into one of the questions that we've been doing lately, the one question show thing. We're going to be talking about Rey's parentage and whether or not it should be retconned from the canon of Star Wars in episode 9, and whether J.J. Abrams is actually going to be doing something with their parentage that he teased in The Force Awakens. So, just quickly, we're going to run over Resistance a little bit. Episode 3 was the pirate episode. I'm forgetting the name of the episode officially off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't remember it either.
But it was about the station basically went dark during a storm, and in the station, pirates attack the station because there's no energy, there's no shields for it. They steal all of its resources, kind of attack its people and whatever. Pretty interesting stuff. I don't know 100% if that character was Bosk or not in the ship.
Think it was.
But it was one of his one of his species, which is an interesting little tie there. It definitely kind of had that kiddie feel to it. Episode 3 wasn't really into the whole. Obviously episode 2 left off with Phasma and the TIE fighter going back to Phasma. There's a little bit of it in there towards the end because she was working with the pirates. Mm-hmm. But, it definitely had the more kiddie feel in comparison to the first 2 episodes. But at this point, I don't really matter because I can see where the show is going to be and what it's going to do. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I'm looking forward to more of the canonized stuff with like Phasma and the First Order and that type of stuff kind of going forward. So
yeah, I actually... Episode 3 is probably my favorite one, honestly.
Really?
Out of the 4 that I've seen, I actually felt like it was the less kiddie. Because
really?
I actually thought it was pretty dark, like hinted towards darker things. Like, there's that... I mean, I don't want to get into spoilers, but there's a scene where they're like... The pirates have somebody, like, tied up or something, and they're showing him in a video, and they didn't, like, kill him or anything, but they're hinting towards, like, this guy's, like, a traitor or something like that. And, like, you probably know what's going to end up happening to him. He's either going to get hurt really bad or get killed. And then just the whole pirate thing in general, they were being attacked. That whole base was being attacked by pirates. And it was kind of it was a battle in a way.
Yeah.
So
Which is one of the big questions
that.
you had.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget the main character's name off the top of my head. Kaz. I really liked this episode for him because of the trophy thing.
The trophy thing was interesting, yes.
He used his trophy to save that guy who's been giving him a hard time this whole time. I liked that moment, but that's kind of the reason why I like this episode. Every episode has these kiddie elements to it, but those are the things I liked about it for sure.
I did not. I'm the complete opposite.
Really?
Of you. I did not like this episode whatsoever, except for the ending with Phasma, just because it was Phasma and connected to the movies. I thought it was boring, personally.
Okay.
I will say I liked the trophy. It kind of did give a little bit, like, of meaning to it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I felt almost like it was just a stupid filler episode, honestly.
I understand.
Although it did answer my question a little bit of if they're going to kill people because that guy crashed into the ocean after he got shot.
Yeah. I mean, whether or not he died or not, but he still did it.
But, it was more than actually, to be honest, that's kind of how... If they were going to kill anyone, that'd probably be exactly how I pictured it, just crashing into the ocean, like
they're not going to show anybody getting shot by like a blaster.
Like a blaster.
It's not that type of show. Yeah.
I don't mind that either.
It'll be like off screen or like you said, someone crashing and whatever it may be.
But other than that, I was just bored. I was just like, all right. I mean, it was kind of cool, like once they attacked, but other than that, I just found myself...
Yeah, I will say that, because I remember when you had watched the episodes ahead of us, you had said... So you haven't seen the pirate episode.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
And it was... it was interesting because the episodes run like 21 or 23 minutes or whatever it is. And I feel like the pirates didn't show up till like the 15-minute mark. Like it took a while.
I felt like they showed up at like the 3-minute left in the.
Well, you also got to include the commercials and everything.
Yeah, that's true. They kind of built up towards it.
It took a while,
yeah,
which is why I kind of felt maybe it was a little, not kiddish, but I guess that was the wrong word that I used. But maybe, like Brian said, a little bit boring. But I see where they're going with it and kind of what they're doing and the whole thing with Kaz building the ship and kind of getting into this mechanic life towards the end of the episode. Yeah. Like he's building his character and trying to make his mark and let people know who he's trying to be while he's a spy. And so it's setting up stuff down the road, and it can be considered a filler episode, but there are bits and pieces here and there that feel like they're going to pay off towards the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the thing for me is I feel like I got the most from Kaz in this episode, and that's why it's my favorite. The first thing I think of is the whole trophy situation, how much it means to him, and how he just damaged it, unselfishly. For sure, yeah. And, we could talk about episode 4.
Yeah, talk about a little bit. You're the only one who's seen it, but just kind of run over a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of felt the way Brian feels about this episode, about episode 4.
So opposite.
But you haven't watched episode 4 yet.
That's true.
But we'll see. Did you guys know Elijah Wood voices the character in this episode?
I didn't know
that. There's a younger character in the episode that kind of,
Mm.
they're butting heads a little bit, and Elijah Wood voices that character. It's just cool. It's fine.
Totally.
And so I like this episode, but it's like it is very immature. It has that very kid feel, and because it's him and these other young characters interacting a lot, and it just had a few cliche things in it, and it really did feel like it didn't really feel like Star Wars to me that much, but there was a few cool things, and I'm not going to talk about spoilers obviously because you guys have seen it, but. The way I feel about the show since I watched the first episode hasn't really changed. It's been like, okay, this is pretty cool.
Steady pace.
I'm intrigued. I'm gonna keep watching it, and because it's Star Wars and there's canon material, but I like it overall.
Yeah, we have it recorded on DVR, so I'm sure we'll be checking it out at some point tonight. We just got sidetracked with watching Daredevil last night.
I do not blame you for that.
So we'll be looking out for that, and we're trying to put together an off-week review type thing for these episodes that we aren't doing Padawan, and we'll try and do that next week. But
without spoiling it, does it have any movie connections, this episode?
Not really.
No? Yeah. All right.
They're definitely going to kind of play off or extend the whole Phasma thing, I would think, as much. Like maybe have her show up every 3 episodes.
Big
thing, 3 episodes or whatever it is with Poe and the First Order, and maybe Kylo shows up at some point. But yeah, so we'll definitely be checking out Resistance and talking about it here.
Kylo would be interesting on Resistance.
I think they are going to show him.
I do too, but
I don't know though. I mean, they might, but I don't
know
how it's going to come across.
Maybe Hux shows up.
That's what I think
Hux should show up.
I think Hux would fit in this show actually, because they would use him comedically like they did in the last.
That's who I thought Phasma was going to be.
Yeah,
when they
that would
revealed
make sense.
It, that's who I was like.
But I feel like Kylo fits more in the tone of Rebels. Not that he would ever be in that time era, but you know what I mean.
I'm with you. Yeah. So all right, well, let's move on from Resistance and let's talk about the main topic of the show. Like I said on the top, we're going to be talking about Rey's parentage and whether or not J.J. Abrams should retcon it or if it should continue on from what Rian Johnson's established in The Last Jedi. This has been a hot topic for years, obviously, ever since the unreveal, I guess you can say, of her parents in The Force Awakens.
Even before The Force Awakens.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah. So it's been going on for quite a while. And we've theorized and debated and done everything possible with this. But the question of retconning what happened in The Last Jedi hasn't been something we talked about yet. And it's kind of an important question because it could very well happen in Episode 9. And because there is an easy way to do it, because simply Kylo Ren could have been lying to Rey about her parents. And so we're gonna go around the table a little bit, talk about it, whether or not it should be retconned. If so, what do we want to see happen? Like, who do we want her to be, or possibly if she should just stay who she is. For myself, I think that as much as I love what happened in The Last Jedi with her parents, I do think that it should be retconned personally, because I think it could add an interesting twist with Kylo lying to her. Maybe getting something with there as far as backstory, like maybe he knows who her parents are. Because I don't know if I believe the line of they were filthy drunk traders and they traded her for scraps or whatever it was.
And especially knowing Kylo, he did that to break her down and try to make her more vulnerable to join in a way.
It could be an interesting story point in episode 9. And I know a lot of people argue, well, it's been stretched on. It'll be stretched on through the entire trilogy. Why don't they just reveal it? But it's kind of been the thread throughout the entire thing. And, Kylo is the son of Han and Leia. Like, this trilogy seems to kind of be about parents in a way. And Rey is right in the middle of it. And so talking about her parents and revealing something massive in Episode 9 would make sense. It just depends on how they do it. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for me, so there's a lot of people who argue, that it should just stay the way that it is, the way Rian Johnson set it up. And to be fair, Rian Johnson left it it was very ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you didn't know whether he was lying to her or not, and she seemed kind of unsure. A lot of people argue that Rey said it. So he's like, say it. And she says they're nobody. And so a lot of people use that saying that she knew the whole time. I don't buy that.
She was almost forced by Kylo. Like, she was manipulated.
Exactly.
Yes.
So she wouldn't be so desperate to find her parents and figure out who they are if really deep down inside she actually knew they were nobody. And she knew that they were junk traders, or, they traded her for alcohol or whatever he said. Mm-hmm. So I don't buy into that. I used to desperately want it to be like a Kenobi connection or a Skywalker connection somehow. I'm okay if it's not. I almost kind of, what if she's a lineage to like just some character in canon that's not a main character, like one of the Jedi Order from the Phantom Menace, or even just like connected to some type of royalty, like on this off planet that we've never heard of. We find out that maybe she was a princess from some other planet, and then that opens up a whole new other world to explore in another trilogy. I hope it's something significant like that, and that Kylo was kind of manipulating her. But for me, it's kind of hard because, of course, I would love her to be a Kenobi. Like, Rey Kenobi sounds so cool. But I'm starting to realize that it really does. I'm starting to realize that would almost be like, I don't know if too on the nose is the right way to put it, but it would just be like, oh, of course she is, I'm okay with her not being a Skywalker or a Kenobi, or, a lot of people like some type of connection to Palpatine.
I think
was one of those.
I think the time of her being a Skywalker is over.
Yeah,
if she was ever going to be a Skywalker, I think it would have been revealed by now.
There is a theory about Han and Kira.
Yes.
That when Han left Leia and he found Kira again sometime in his life.
Yeah.
And Rey's pretty young compared to Kylo. Well,
she's around 20. Around 20, which would, depending on when he met up with Kira after Return of the Jedi.
We know basically Kira was his first love. We
Yes.
know that. And if he was ever gonna, go away from Leia for one woman, it would be Kira. And Kira and Rey are very similar in just, obviously they have the accent, the kind of short brunette girl. I don't 100% discount that theory, which would kind of be cool. But for me, I want it to be something relevant, but not something that we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and also that would play into the fact that JJ has, from the beginning, always said that he wants to wrap up the saga and connect all of the movies, connect the prequels with the originals with the sequels. And so it could all tie into Rey as far as who her parents are. It could be another way. Brian, for you, man, I know that you, like you said, you latched onto the Palpatine theory in the beginning. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling about it now? Like, do you agree with what The Last Jedi did? Do you want to see a retcon, or are you happy with, how it is right now, and you just kind of want to see the story move forward?
So for me, I always thought like J.J. Abrams had to have an idea of whose Rey's parents are going to be, or whatever. And then when Rian Johnson took it, it kind of like it like peaked, then valleyed with him, and I feel like now that he's doing 9, he's gonna like level it off. So I personally think he's going to change how Last Jedi was and change it to his original idea. I'm still sticking with what I thought from, my original was Palpatine, but my backup to that was that I still think he's going to be, I think that it's going to be someone that Luke trained.
One of his apprentices.
One of his apprentices in the Jedi Order that got away, put her on Jakku, said, we'll come back and get you, and never came back. For me, that would be awesome because you can kind of play off that with Luke Skywalker in 8, kind of, because he kind of seemed like he was like almost like not knew who she was, but like kind of played that vibe that like he could.
There's been all these hints with Kylo saying "what girl," and then the way Han looks at her.
Going to Mos Kanata. That's the way.
Like
the one scene I always think about is when
the
one scene I always think about is in Force Awakens when they're going to Mos Kanata's castle, and she says, "I've never seen so much green in the world." And he turns to her, and it's like that look of a parent looking at a kid who's just been like, crushed.
I get all that. I've thought that same thing, but I really don't think that it's going to be Han.
Well, no, I don't think that it's Han, but I think that he knows or he knew who she was.
That's what I think. I think it's probably someone they might have all met or someone at the end of 6, so on and so forth, eventually trained her parents through the academy. When Kylo destroyed it, they got away. I don't know if the timeline adds up, but
do we think that, like, let's say if Brian's idea is right here, do we think that Luke is the one that dropped her off on Jakku?
No. I think I personally think her parents got away from the
and
Knights
dropped
of
her
Ren
off on Jakku
and went to the middle of nowhere where she wouldn't be found. And to me, that could explain why he was like, "What girl?" Maybe he knew someone got away. The Knights of Ren.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's tough because I feel like if Luke did, then I think he would have known who she was right away.
Mm-hmm.
And he might have been he could have hid that.
Yeah.
But it just really seemed like in The Last Jedi, like he didn't know who she was at all.
Yeah.
And then he starts to figure it out how strong she is in the Force and her connection, but it didn't seem to me like he knew her. It seemed more like Han knew her or knew who she was in some way.
I mean, I'm definitely buying into what Brian's saying just because she seems like she has some kind of training.
I think she's somebody, but she's not somebody. No, like she would be Han Solo's kid.
She's a Force sensitive, a girl who was the daughter of one of Luke's trainees in the Order,
something like that.
They got slaughtered and there was chaos, and she got away. And maybe she was in the midst of starting her training as in this new Order that Luke started, and
I think she was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, and so that'd be a 15-year gap where she basically just forgot it all.
Yeah, I mean,
she still had these inklings.
Remember everything from that age.
She still has the inklings of it.
Count the tally marks.
I know, right?
She was.
But yeah, so it's like it's a very interesting theory, but I think we're all in agreement that they should retcon it. That they should move forward with something else and kind of like what Brian was saying, move forward with what JJ was kind of hinting at in The Force Awakens.
For sure. And for me, it's like they didn't 100% establish in The Last Jedi that was the truth.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really have to actually retcon it. He just has to say that he was manipulating and lying to her. Yeah. And that's it. And then you can change it. The one argument that makes the junk trader thing make sense is who's holding her arm when the thing flies off. It's Unkar Plot.
Yeah.
And you trade drunk to him for credits or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
and she basically became his slave.
That is the only thing that makes that kind of makes that connection true.
What if he was
in
a
a
good
way?
person at that time?
No.
But why? I'm curious though. Regardless of who she is, somebody brought her to Unkar Plot and said, "Here, take care of this girl." That's really weird.
Yeah, it's very interesting moving forward as far as story points and whether or not he'll be back in Episode 9, maybe in flashback forms.
Yeah.
It could be very interesting. I would love to see flashbacks of her being dropped off there by whoever it was, or if we do get a flashback of her, say the theory of her being in Luke's Order and her escaping that hellhole that turned into chaos with the Knights of Ren, it could be very interesting. But like Jacob said earlier, there's teases and hints and ideas all throughout the first 2 movies that say she's not just Junk Trader's daughter. Like, she's someone bigger. It seems like people know who she is. Kylo Ren, Han. If we agree that Luke doesn't know who she is and she has a connection to the Solos, that could be very interesting going forward, because it kind of leaves the legacy of Han in, not doubt, but in question a little bit, and as far as who he was and and what he did or who he knew or whatever it may be. And you had mentioned that you guys had mentioned that it would be pretty simple for JJ to kind of retcon it. If I remember correctly, after that scene between Rey and Kylo where he reveals that, it wasn't touched on again, right, in the movie? Mm-mm. It was basically like 5 seconds and over and done with. So to me, even though it revealed who her parents were, it didn't almost seem like it was a gigantic deal because it seemed like it was revealed so quickly and just ran over in a heartbeat, which leads me to believe that there's something bigger in store for episode 9.
It was kind of a way because everybody knew that's on everyone's mind. Everyone wants to know who Rey is. Yeah. And that was their way of just, here's a little tidbit, hang on to that for now, and you'll find out later what the truth is. When the
original guy takes it back over.
Yeah, totally. So
we're going to... Hopefully we find out episode 9. Like, if they end episode 9 and it's still like, who's Rey?
I know,
we're not going to get episode 10 for at least 5 years, in my opinion.
Yeah, if they ever do an episode 10.
If they ever do
an episode 10.
Or if it is the Jump Trader thing, confirm it. So that way it's done, it's put to rest, and it's done.
I agree.
I don't want to just keep wondering.
In one way or another, it has to be finalized in episode 9.
And like that's cool. Like J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson they're both, even though they're very different, they're both like this it's a mystery type of directors, right? Mm-hmm. So I hope J.J. Abrams just knows, like, he has to give us some sort of definitive answer. Like, whether it's the Jump Trader thing, I'll be fine with that. I'm not going to hate it. I'll be fine with it. And I'm not going to love it either. But just give us some sort of answer is all I'm saying.
All right, so as we end this, I'm going to go around the table real quickly, and we'll all kind of say our things. Officially, what do you think JJ is going to do, and who do you think Rey is? Jacob?
Well, I mentioned a few options, but I mean, I really like what Brian was saying, and it's been mentioned before, but some type of connection to Luke's Academy makes sense.
Yeah. No, it hasn't. I came up with it all by
No, like, because I don't know, was she too young to be a Padawan, or not a Padawan, but a student? Because
possibly, but remember, really like, depends. How old were the younglings in the Jedi Temple? You know? Like,
and who knows if like Leia and Han like went to go visit this Jedi Academy, and there was some little girl with a British accent, and then Han recognized, like, shoot, is this that girl?
Real quick, in Bloodline, I think they canonized that everything that happened with the events of Kylo Ren took place 7 years before The Force Awakens. Correct?
In Bloodline is 6 years before The Force Awakens, and Kylo Ren is still with Luke. Like, he's still good.
It probably happens within that vicinity. So 5 to 8 years before The Force Awakens. Say that's true, he's around 25. That would put Rey around 15.
Okay.
That's the thing, because she's 10 years younger than Kylo.
You're right.
So that's the big question.
Yeah. So she got dropped off. She had been a little girl.
She would have been in Jakku by then.
So I'm not saying that specifically, but man, that's crazy. That's crazy to think about.
It's all about the timeline. The timeline is what matters.
It wouldn't have been when that temple was destroyed.
And she would have remembered, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, she would. Unless she got, like you said, she would have been 15. Yeah. So, but still, force sensitive people are like, you got to be careful with them. Mm-hmm, so for some reason, she was dropped off.
And just because we're saying that she's 15, it doesn't mean that. And maybe she's not a part of Luke's order. At this point in the galaxy, there could have easily been someone else out there with some kind of force sensitive ability, possibly training someone. Like, you never know how big the galaxy is. There's been plenty of I know, right? Plenty of years to have people pop up, or maybe a Jedi got away. He's been living on his own this entire time. Ahsoka's out there. I'm not saying it's her, but there are people out there who have the abilities and the knowledge of the Force and the Jedi way that they can come into contact with people. It doesn't necessarily have to be Luke. And I wasn't discarding the theory of Luke's order, because I do agree with it.
That's the thing,
but
though.
The timeline is
I never thought about that.
The timeline is very interesting.
It was not during that time. It couldn't have been.
So if it does in fact end up being retconned, and JJ does do with whatever he wanted to do in episode 7, he does with it in episode 9, we have no idea because of the timeline. She was at 5 years old when she was dropped off to Unkar Plot. That was 10 years before.
I would say max 7.
So let's say around the 5 to 8 years old.
Yeah, but she was able to talk, like, come back.
Yeah, she was let's say like she was 5 to 8 years old, like say somewhere around there. If you say, and 10 years after that, Kylo turns bad. So Kylo would have been 15 around there, and easily training with Luke, doing his thing. 10 years later, Rey's 15, Kylo's 25. All hell breaks loose. Where the hell was she? You know, like, I mean, she was on Jakku for 10 years.
Yeah.
Who was she before that? So it's going to be very interesting because it goes back, before The Force Awakens, it's going to go back 15 years, which is the halfway point between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. So
she could still have some type of connection to Luke and his academy, even if it's not during that time.
Yeah, I agree.
It could have happened way earlier.
Brian, with all that in mind, man, who do you think Rey is? Do you think it should be retconned officially, like your decision going into Episode 9?
I think J.J. Abrams should do exactly what he thought he was doing in the first one, which I feel he knows who her parents are, and Rian Johnson just went rogue. And then I'm going to stick with still that she's somehow a child of one of Luke's trainees.
Yeah. Well, and that could still be the case.
Because
it could still very much be the case.
We just know it wasn't after the temple was
like,
destroyed.
what if Luke brought back the old order way where Jedi aren't allowed to have kids? They have kids and have to get rid of her. Like, you never know. Like, something can happen.
I just think it would be kind of cool because then if it somehow was connected to the day that the temple got destroyed, like, that gives us our Knights of Ren flashback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we haven't got any of that.
We haven't got any of
And that was JJ's Knights of Ren are all JJ.
And maybe them escaping from them would kind of tie a little bow in a knot. I don't know. I think she's connected somehow to the just redone Jedi Order or something.
Yeah, no, I do think that it should be retconned personally. I think that JJ should, like Brian said, stick with what his original plan was.
Exactly, which includes Kenobi speaking to her in that Force battle or whatever. Which, why the hell did he do that? Or are the Force ghosts, they can just see everything and they know every Force user... Does there not have to be a connection?
It could be a situation where, and this happened in the... that book where they did the 40 stories from 40 Star Wars.
Yeah. A certain point of view.
From a certain point of view, when Qui-Gon was telling Kenobi about Luke before Luke was even, able to.
That's right. Because
what if Obi-Wan?
Well, the thing is, there is a connection between Qui-Gon and Luke, though, because Qui-Gon
Anakin
trained Anakin, and that's Anakin's son.
But
so,
what
that's
about?
What I'm saying, like, what if there's a connection?
Like Obi-Wan may know about Rey before she's really Rey, or maybe Yoda knows about Rey before she was really Rey. And it can easily happen with the Force because the Force is all things and like it runs through everything, and so there's always that possibility. And there were heavy speculations about Ewan McGregor coming back as Obi-Wan in Episode 8. I think it's going to happen in Episode 9, like in some kind of capacity. Because Luke is now Force Ghost. Luke has a connection to Obi-Wan.
If we don't see his ass in a Star Wars movie anytime soon...
we will see him in a Star Wars movie at some point. But I think as a Force Ghost, because Luke is now a Force Ghost, it's going to happen. And on a side note, real quick before we get out of here, Mark Hamill on Twitter today said, because there was the Last Jedi comic book finally finished.
Oh, yeah.
And he came out with screenshots and said, the Force killed Luke. So he's officially part of the Force. He's not transported somewhere else in the galaxy as a
did
being.
Luke say that? Or just
he came out on Twitter.
Mark Hamill said that?
He said in all caps, the Force killed Luke, with screenshots of the comic book, him drifting away. And so he's officially a Force ghost in Star Wars, but he will be back as that in Episode 9.
I'm kind of relieved to hear that, just so I don't...
It's official. It's finalized.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, one thing we do know about Rey is that she's the light side of the Force, rising to face the power of the dark. So she is, if not already, on her way to be the most powerful light side user of the Force. So
I don't know. I'm
not saying
after the Last Jedi,
what
Luke did about projecting himself across the galaxy.
Yeah,
he's pretty freaking powerful.
I'm not saying all time. I'm saying at this moment in time.
Yeah, she's gonna rank him. She's gonna rank among the greats.
Yeah, she'll be the number one ranked in the galaxy
in the fantasy Jedi.
Exactly,
the fantasy Jedi. Now. So, all right. Well, that's our discussion on Rey. Whether or not her parentage should be retconned in Episode 9. Head down in the comments. Let us know what you thought of it. Do you have an idea out there that we haven't talked about or heard of? Head down there. Let us know about our thoughts and your thoughts as well. Can't thank you guys enough for all the comments and support. For Jacob, for Brian, for myself, thank you for joining us on the Padawan Podcast as well. Thank you, boys, for joining me. Check out apocalypsemovies.com, this YouTube channel, trailer reactions, movie reviews, the Padawan Podcast, and a couple more things coming down the line as well. So, again, thank you for joining us here on the Padawan Podcast, and until next time, may the Force be with you.